The morning bus pulls to the curb with a wheeze of hydraulic brakes, its yellow paint chipped and faded from years of service. Inside, 37 passengers occupy most of the worn seats, their faces illuminated by the cold glow of phone screens or pressed against fogged windows. Nobody speaks. The only sounds are the rumble of the engine, the occasional cough, and the tinny leak of music from someone's earbuds. It's 7:43 on a Tuesday morning in São Paulo, and everyone aboard has somewhere they need to be 10 minutes ago. The doors fold open with a mechanical sigh, and she appears at the bottom step. Her name is Helena, though nobody on this bus knows it or would think to ask. She's somewhere between 75 and 80, with silver hair pulled back in a simple bun and a burgundy cardigan that's seen better decades. In her arms, she cradles 2 paper grocery bags, both overstuffed and already splitting at the corners. You can see the tops of vegetables, a carton of eggs balanced precariously, a bottle of cooking oil threatening to slide out. Her hands shake slightly as she grips the bags tighter, trying to find purchase on the handrail with one elbow. She takes the first step. The bus lurches forward slightly as the driver adjusts position, and that's all it takes. The bottom of one bag gives way completely, splitting down the center with a sound like tearing fabric. Tomatoes hit the rubber floor of the bus entrance and roll in 3 different directions. The egg carton lands corner first and cracks open, yolk spreading in a bright yellow pool. Onions bounce down the steps. A glass jar of something shatters, and the smell of pickles fills the air. Coins from a small change purse scatter everywhere, pinging off metal and disappearing under seats. Helena freezes on the step, still holding the remains of the torn bag and the second bag that's now also threatening to split. Her face drains of color. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. She just stands there, bent slightly forward, arms full of groceries and dignity spilling out all around her. The driver, a man named Marcos, glances in his wide rear-view mirror. He's 42 years old with tired eyes and a regulation uniform that's a size too tight around the middle. His hand hovers over the gear shift. The schedule on his dashboard shows he's already running 6 minutes behind. From seat 14, a man in a business suit checks his watch and makes an exasperated sound. "Come on," he mutters, loud enough to be heard. "Some of us have meetings." A woman near the front adjusts her purse on her lap and turns away, focusing very intently on her phone. 2 teenagers near the back continue their conversation as if nothing has happened, their laughter cutting through the awkward silence. Helena bends down, trying to gather the tomatoes with one hand while still holding the second bag. Her knees crack audibly. She reaches for an onion and the second bag shifts, more items threatening to fall. She's moving in a kind of desperate slow motion, like someone drowning very quietly where everyone can see. "Lady, can you hurry up?" Another voice calls from somewhere in the middle of the bus. It's impossible to tell who said it, which somehow makes it worse. Marcos watches her in the mirror. He sees her hand trembling as she tries to pick up the egg carton, now ruined and dripping. He sees the way her shoulders curve inward, making herself smaller. He sees how not a single person has moved from their seat. His hand is still on the gear shift. Company policy is clear. Keep to the schedule. Don't hold up the route. Passengers who can't manage their belongings should wait for the next bus. He's already late. Traffic is building up behind him. Someone in a car behind lays on their horn, the sound harsh and impatient. But Marcos doesn't shift into gear. He pulls the parking brake instead. The hiss of the brake engaging is loud in the silence of the bus. Then he switches off the engine entirely. 37 pairs of eyes look up. 37 people suddenly very aware that something unusual is happening. Marcos stands up from the driver's seat. He's not a tall man, but in this moment he seems to fill the entire front of the bus. He presses the button on his radio handset, and there's a click as the speakers throughout the bus come alive. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, his voice crackling through the system, formal and clear. "We're going to stop here for a few minutes. Nobody is getting off this bus until we help this woman pick up her groceries. Nobody. The businessman in seat 14 opens his mouth to protest. Marcos looks at him directly, and the man's mouth closes again. Marcos sets down the handset and walks down the 3 steps to where Helena is still crouched on the entrance platform, surrounded by the ruins of her shopping trip. He kneels down beside her, his knees popping as he does. The concrete is cold and dirty. There's a tomato 3 feet away, rolling slowly toward the gutter. "Let me help you with that," Marcos says quietly, just to her. Helena looks up at him and her eyes are wet. "I'm so sorry," she whispers. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hold everyone up." "You're not holding anyone up," Marcos says, and his voice is gentle in a way that makes something tight in her chest loosen just slightly. "Accidents happen." He picks up the egg carton, already knowing it's beyond saving, and sets it aside. He retrieves the tomatoes, checking each one for damage. Most have split open, but a few are intact. He picks up coins, dropping them one by one into the change purse. A young woman comes up behind him and he turns, ready to tell her to sit back down, but she's holding a reusable shopping bag from her own groceries. "Here," she says, offering it to Helena. "Use this, it's stronger." Helena takes it with shaking hands. "Thank you," she manages. Then an older man from seat 24 is there too, bending down with a grunt, picking up onions. "Got these," he says to no one in particular. A teenage girl appears with napkins from her backpack, kneeling to wipe up the egg yolk before anyone steps in it. Her friend joins her, and they work in silent tandem, efficient and focused. Marcos watches as more passengers come forward, not all of them, but enough. Enough that in 2 minutes everything is picked up. The ruined items are set in a neat pile near the curb. The salvageable groceries are carefully packed into the young woman's stronger bag, plus a small canvas tote someone else donated. Helena stands with both bags in her arms again, but this time they're secure, and this time she's not alone. "Thank you," she says, and her voice breaks on the second word. "Thank you all so much." The passengers who helped return to their seats. The businessman in the suit is looking out the window very intently. The woman who had turned away earlier has tears on her cheeks that she quickly brushes away. Marcos helps Helena up the steps and to the first available seat, right behind the driver. He places her bags carefully on the seat next to her, making sure they're stable. She looks up at him, really looks at him, and something flickers in her eyes. "Do I know you?" she asks. Marcos pauses. His hand is on the back of her seat. For a moment, he doesn't answer, and you can see something working behind his eyes, some decision being made. "Yes," he finally says, "you do, but it was a long time ago." He doesn't elaborate. Not yet. He returns to the driver's seat, restarts the engine, and releases the parking brake. The bus pulls back into traffic, 8 minutes behind schedule now. But somehow, the atmosphere inside has completely changed. People who were silent are now talking in low voices. Someone offers Helena a bottle of water. The teenage girls who helped clean up the egg are smiling at each other like they've discovered something important. The bus rumbles through the morning streets, past the bakery that's been on this corner for 40 years, past the school where children in uniforms wait at the gate, past the construction site where workers in yellow vests drink coffee from thermoses. The city moves around them, indifferent and vast, but inside this bus something has shifted. Marcos drives with one eye on the road and one eye on the rearview mirror, watching Helena settle into her seat. She's stopped trembling. The color has returned to her face. She sits with her hands folded over the bags on her lap, and there's a quality to her posture now that wasn't there before. Not pride exactly, but something close to it. The quiet dignity of someone who has been seen, been helped, been reminded that she matters. Traffic thickens as they approach the commercial district. The bus stops and starts, the hydraulic brakes hissing at each light. More passengers board at each stop, squeezing into the available space, holding onto the overhead rails. They sense something different about this bus, but can't quite name it. The air feels warmer somehow. People make eye contact. Someone gives up their seat for a pregnant woman without being asked. At the fourth stop after the incident, an elderly man boards with a walker. Before the bus even comes to a complete stop, 3 people have stood up to offer him their seat. He chooses one near the middle, and the young man who gave it up moves to stand near Marcos, holding the rail behind the driver's seat. "That was good what you did back there," the young man says quietly. "Stopping like that." Marcos shrugs, but there's something almost bashful in the gesture. Just the right thing to do. Still, not everyone would have. Marcos doesn't respond to that because they both know it's true. The bus industry runs on schedules and efficiency. Drivers get written up for delays. Passengers complain to the company. There are metrics and quotas and supervisors who care more about numbers than people. Marcos has seen drivers pass by people who were struggling, leave passengers behind, who couldn't board fast enough, ignore emergencies because it wasn't in the job description. He's done it himself, more times than he'd like to admit. The job wears you down. The city wears you down. After a while, you stop seeing people and start seeing obstacles, delays, problems, but not today. Not with her. The bus climbs a hill, engine straining slightly. São Paulo spreads out around them in every direction, a city of 12 million souls, all trying to get somewhere, all carrying their own bags of groceries and broken eggs and coins that roll away when you're not looking. The sun breaks through the clouds, sudden and bright, and for a moment the entire bus is filled with golden light. Helena watches the streets pass by her window. She knows this route. She's taken this bus 3 times a week for the past 6 years, ever since her husband died, and she had to learn to do things alone. She knows every stop, every turn, every pothole that makes the bus bounce. She knows the usual drivers by sight, if not by name. But she doesn't remember this one, this Marcos, except something nags at her. The way he held her arm when helping her to her seat, the way he said, "Yes, you do," when she asked if she knew him. The way his eyes looked when he said it, like he was remembering something that hurt and healed at the same time. She tries to think back, sorting through decades of memories, like someone looking for a specific photograph in an old album. So many faces, so many people passing through her life. She was a teacher for 40 years before retiring, elementary school, 2nd grade, hundreds of students over the decades. Could he have been one of them? She tries to picture him as a 7-year-old boy, but the image won't come. The bus makes a turn onto Avenida Paulista, the main artery of the city. Tall buildings rise on either side like canyon walls, their glass facades reflecting the sky. The sidewalks are crowded with people in business clothes, students with backpacks, street vendors selling everything from fresh coconut water to knock-off designer watches. A man plays saxophone on the corner, his case open for coins. The music drifts through the open windows of the bus, adding to the symphony of urban sound. Marcos navigates through the traffic with practiced ease, switching lanes, timing the lights, making small adjustments to the wheel that keep the ride smooth. But his mind is elsewhere. He's thinking about 27 years ago. He's thinking about a different version of himself, a version that wore a school uniform and carried a backpack covered in band stickers and tried very hard to be invisible. He was 12 years old that year. His father had left 2 years prior, no warning, no goodbye, just gone one morning and never came back. His mother worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table and rarely made it home before 9 at night. He was alone a lot. Alone and angry and confused in the way that 12-year-old boys get when the world stops making sense. He started acting out at school, Small things at first, talking back to teachers, not doing homework, skipping classes. Then bigger things, stealing from the supply closet, starting fights in the hallway, getting suspended. His grades collapsed. His mother would cry at the kitchen table after meeting with the principal, and he would watch from the doorway, feeling terrible, but not knowing how to stop, not knowing how to be anything other than this angry, broken thing he had become. There was a teacher, an old woman. Everyone called her Donna Helena behind her back because she seemed ancient even then, though she was probably only in her 50s. She taught language arts, and she was strict. Everyone knew it. She didn't tolerate nonsense. She gave hard assignments. She expected you to try. Most teachers had given up on Marcos by then. They would seat him in the back and ignore him as long as he didn't disrupt the class. But not Donna Helena. She moved him to the front row. She called on him even when his hand wasn't raised. She refused to accept blank assignments. One day she kept him after class. He thought he was in trouble again. Thought she was going to yell or threaten to call his mother or tell him he was wasting his potential like all the others did. Instead, she sat down across from him at one of the small student desks, her knees barely fitting under it, and she said, "You're very smart, Marcos. Do you know that?" He shrugged, looking at the floor. "You are. I can see it. But you're drowning. And when people are drowning, they sometimes hurt the people who try to help them. I understand that. I want to help you anyway." He didn't say anything. His throat felt tight. "I'm going to give you a choice," she continued. "You can keep doing what you're doing and be expelled by the end of the semester. That's the path you're on. Or you can accept help from me. Extra tutoring after school 3 times a week. We'll catch you up on what you've missed. We'll give you structure. And in return, I need you to try. That's all. Just try." He wanted to say no. Wanted to tell her to leave him alone. Wanted to protect that angry armor he'd built around himself. But something in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't looking at him with pity or disgust or disappointment. She was looking at him like he was worth saving. "Okay," he whispered. For the next 6 months, Donna Helena stayed after school 3 days a week to work with him. She bought him notebooks with her own money. She brought him snacks because she'd noticed he often didn't eat lunch. She taught him how to organize his thoughts, how to break big problems into small pieces, how to be patient with himself when things didn't come easily. Slowly, painfully, he began to pull himself out of the hole he'd dug. His grades improved. The anger began to fade. He started to believe just a little bit that maybe he wasn't worthless. Maybe he could be something. At the end of the school year, she gave him a card. Inside she'd written, "You did the hardest thing in the world, Marcos. You let someone help you. Remember that you're capable of more than you know. Make good choices, be kind, and when you see someone drowning, don't look away." He kept that card for years. It sat on his desk through high school. He looked at it the night before his first day at the technical college, where he trained to be a bus driver. He looked at it the day his mother died. He looked at it the morning his own son was born. He still has it somewhere, probably in a box in his closet, the paper yellow with age and the ink fading. He lost track of Donna Helena after leaving school. Meant to visit, meant to tell her what a difference she made. But life happened the way life does. He heard through old classmates that she'd retired, that her husband had died, but he never followed up, never sought her out. And then decades passed, and she became just a memory, a warm spot in his past that he visited sometimes when the present felt too cold. Until this morning, when an elderly woman with silver hair and a burgundy cardigan boarded his bus carrying too many groceries and looking so terribly alone, until he saw her face and recognized something in the set of her jaw, the way she held herself, until the name on her lips when she whispered her thanks was Helena. The bus slows for a red light. They're in the heart of the business district now, banks and law offices and companies whose names mean nothing to most people, but whose decisions affect millions. Men in expensive suits cross the street, speaking into wireless earbuds. Women in heels that look painful navigate around puddles from yesterday's rain. Marcos clears his throat and reaches for his radio handset again. The click echoes through the bus, and conversations pause. "Next stop is Avenida Consolação," he announces. "If you're getting off there, please move toward the exits." Several passengers stand and make their way to the doors. Helena isn't one of them. She still has 4 more stops to go. Marcos knows this without asking, the same way he knows that she gets off at the stop near the community center, that she walks 2 blocks east to a small apartment building with blue tiles, that she probably climbs 3 flights of stairs because the elevator has been broken for months. He knows because he's seen her before, not recently, not close enough to recognize, but yes, he's seen her. She's been part of the landscape of his route, one of the recurring faces that blend into the pattern of the city. He's driven past her at bus stops. He's watched her through the mirror as she sat near the back, always alone, always quiet. And he never made the connection, never realized that the elderly woman who rode his bus was the same person who saved his life when he was 12 years old. The light turns green. The bus rolls forward. New passengers board at Consolação, paying their fares and shuffling down the aisle. A young mother with a toddler on her hip, a construction worker with paint-stained pants, a university student with textbooks piled in her arms that threaten to spill just like Helena's groceries did. The student wobbles as the bus accelerates, books shifting dangerously. Instantly, 3 different passengers reach out to help steady her, to catch a textbook before it falls. The young mother is offered a seat before she even has to ask. The construction worker says, "Excuse me and thank you," as he moves through the crowded aisle, and people respond in kind, creating a chain of small courtesies that ripples through the vehicle. One act of kindness has transformed the entire social contract of this bus. It's temporary, Marcos knows. Tomorrow, they'll all be strangers again, back to their phones and their private worlds. But today, in this moment, they're a community. They're people who helped someone when she needed it, and that means something. The bus continues its route through the city. They pass through neighborhoods that smell like coffee and fresh bread. They pass street art murals that span entire buildings, bright colors against gray concrete. They pass churches and mosques and synagogues, their doors open to anyone who needs them. They pass the park where old men play chess at stone tables. They pass the market where vendors shout prices in Portuguese and Spanish and Korean. São Paulo is not always a kind city. It's too big, too busy, too focused on survival to always remember compassion. But it's also a city of millions of small kindnesses that happen in the spaces between the hurry. A stranger helping another stranger pick up dropped groceries. A bus driver stopping when he doesn't have to. Passengers transforming from individuals into a community, even if just for 10 minutes. Helena shifts in her seat, adjusting the bags on her lap. The young woman's reusable bag is sturdy and clean, covered in a pattern of small flowers. Helena runs her thumb over the fabric, thinking about the girl who gave it to her without hesitation. Thinking about all the hands that reached out this morning, thinking about the bus driver who stopped the whole world just to help her. She watches him in the mirror, the way he handles the large steering wheel with confidence, the way he checks the side mirrors before each lane change, the way he nods at passengers boarding and says, "Good morning," even though he doesn't have to. There's something familiar in his profile. In the way he holds his shoulders, in the quick, assessing glances he gives her every few minutes, checking that she's okay. And then it hits her. A flash of memory so sudden and clear it takes her breath away. A boy in the front row with dark circles under his eyes, a boy who flinched when she called on him, expecting punishment, not help. A boy who slowly, painfully, learned to trust her. A boy whose name was Marcos. Her hand goes to her mouth. She stares at the back of the driver's head, and suddenly she sees him both as he is now, middle-aged, graying, weathered by years of this job, And as he was then, 12 years old and drowning in ways he couldn't articulate. "Oh," she whispers to herself, "oh, Marcos." The bus makes another stop. Passengers off, passengers on, the constant exchange of the city's circulation system. They're 3 stops from her destination now. Helena knows she needs to talk to him, needs to acknowledge what she's just realized, but she doesn't know how. It was so long ago. Does he even want to be remembered as that angry, struggling boy? Has she made this into something bigger than it was? Maybe she's just one of dozens of teachers he had. Maybe he barely remembers her. But no. The way he said, "Yes, you do," when she asked if she knew him, the way he looked at her. He remembers. He knows exactly who she is. 2 stops from her destination. The bus is less crowded now. Several seats have opened up. The businessman from earlier, the one who complained, has gotten off without meeting anyone's eyes. The woman who turned away has also disembarked. But the young woman who donated her bag is still there, sitting near the back. She catches Helena's eye and smiles. A real smile that reaches her eyes. Helena smiles back, feeling something warm spread through her chest. She's lived alone for 6 years. Her children are grown and scattered across different states, busy with their own lives. Her friends from the old days have mostly passed away or moved to be closer to their own children. She goes to the market 3 times a week and to church on Sundays and to the community center on Wednesdays for a program that helps seniors with technology. It's a quiet life, a small life. Some days she feels invisible. Some days she feels like a ghost haunting her own existence. But not today. Today she was seen. Today she mattered. Today a room full of strangers became for a moment people who cared. 1 stop from her destination. The bus slows. Marcos activates the turn signal. The clicking sound of it fills the quiet bus. He pulls to the curb with a gentleness that makes barely a jolt. "Rua Maria Antonia," he announces. Helena's stop. She stands carefully, gathering her 2 bags. They're secure in their new homes, but she holds them close anyway. She moves down the aisle toward the front. Other passengers move aside to let her pass. Someone says, "Take care," and someone else says, "God bless," and these small words feel like treasures. She reaches the front of the bus and stops next to Marcos's seat. The doors haven't opened yet. They're both waiting for something. "Marcos," she says quietly, just his name. He turns in his seat to look at her fully. Their eyes meet. In his face, she sees the 12-year-old boy he was, the one who didn't believe he deserved kindness. In her face, he sees the teacher who refused to let him drown. "Dona Helena," he says, and his voice cracks slightly on her name. "You remembered." How could I forget? They look at each other for a long moment. There are things that could be said, thank yous and explanations and updates on their lives. He could tell her about his son, about his wife who left him 3 years ago, about how some days this job feels meaningless, and some days it's the only thing keeping him grounded. She could tell him about her husband's death, about her loneliness, about how she thinks of her old students sometimes and wonders what became of them. But they don't say any of those things. Some moments are too big for words. Some moments exist in the space between what was and what is, held together by invisible threads of connection and meaning. "You saved my life," Marcos says finally. "I don't think I ever told you that, but you did." Helena's eyes fill with tears. "You saved mine," she whispers back. "This morning you saved mine." He shakes his head. "No, I just did what you taught me. When you see someone drowning, don't look away." She reaches out and touches his shoulder, just briefly, just a light pressure of her hand against the fabric of his uniform. It's the kind of touch a mother gives a son, or a teacher gives a student, or one human being gives another when words fail. Thank you, Marcos, for then, for now, for becoming someone good. Thank you, Donna Helena, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. The doors open with their mechanical sigh. The real world rushes back in. Traffic sounds, street vendors, the smell of exhaust and roasting corn. Helena steps down onto the sidewalk, her bag secure, her head high. She turns back once to wave, and Marcos waves back. Then the doors close and the bus pulls away, and she stands on the corner watching it disappear into traffic. This bus that carried her through a small miracle this morning. This bus driven by a man she helped save 27 years ago, who returned the favor today when she needed it most. Marcos drives the rest of his route with something light in his chest. The schedule says he's 13 minutes behind now, but he doesn't care. He'll make it up somehow, or he won't. There are some things more important than schedules. At the end of his shift, he parks the bus in the depot and does his end-of-day checks. He wipes down the driver's seat. He collects lost items from under the seats and turns them into the office. He fills out his route sheet, documenting the stops, the passenger count, the minor issues. In the space for notes, he writes, "Helped passenger retrieve dropped items. 13 minutes behind schedule." He doesn't mention that it changed his life. He doesn't mention that he found someone he thought he'd lost. Some things don't fit in the boxes on official forms. As he walks to his car in the employee lot, his phone buzzes. A text from his son, asking if he wants to come over for dinner this weekend. Marcos smiles and types back, "Yes, I'd love that." He drives home through the evening traffic, and the city looks different somehow, softer, more human. He notices things he usually overlooks. A father teaching his daughter to ride a bike in front of their building, a group of elderly women sitting on a bench, laughing about something. A young man helping an older gentleman carry a heavy box up a flight of stairs. Kindness everywhere, if you know how to look for it. Small acts that don't change the world, but change a world. The world of the person being helped, the world of the person doing the helping. That night, Marcos searches through his closet until he finds the box he's looking for. Inside, beneath old photographs and school papers and letters from his mother, he finds the card. Yellowed paper, faded ink. Donna Helena's handwriting, still clear after all these years. Make good choices. Be kind. And when you see someone drowning, don't look away. He reads it 3 times. Then he props it up on his dresser, where he'll see it every morning. A reminder, a promise, a gift that keeps giving across decades. Helena makes dinner in her small apartment that evening. Rice and beans and some of the vegetables that survived the morning's disaster. She sets one place at the table, as she has every night for 6 years. But tonight, it doesn't feel quite as lonely. She eats slowly, thinking about the day, about Marcos, about the young woman with the flour bag, about the way strangers became neighbors when it mattered. After dinner, she calls her daughter in Curitiba. They talk for an hour about nothing in particular, and Helena doesn't mention the incident on the bus, because how do you explain something like that over the phone? How do you explain that you felt invisible, and then suddenly you were seen? That you felt alone, and then suddenly you were held by a community, that a moment of humiliation transformed into a moment of grace. Instead, she just listens to her daughter talk about her grandchildren, about work, about the new house they're thinking of, buying, and she feels connected, part of the great web of human experience that stretches across cities and years and chance encounters on morning buses. That night, both Marcos and Helena sleep better than they have in months. They dream of second chances and small miracles, and the way one choice can echo across decades. They dream of morning buses and dropped groceries, and the moment when someone decides to stop, to help, to care. They dream of the people they were, and the people they became, and the invisible threads that connect us all if we're brave enough to reach out. The next morning, Marcos starts his route at 6:30 as always. He drives the same streets, picks up the same passengers, follows the same schedule. But he's different. He says good morning to everyone who boards. He helps an elderly man with a walker find a seat. He waits patiently when a young mother struggles to fold her stroller. He sees people now, really sees them, the way Donna Helena taught him to all those years ago. And Helena, shopping at the market 3 days later, makes sure to buy sturdier bags. She packs them more carefully. She takes her time on the bus steps. But she also looks around at her fellow passengers with new eyes. She smiles at strangers. She offers her seat to a young woman who looks tired. She becomes part of the circulation of kindness that flows through the city if you know where to look. They don't see each other again, not right away. São Paulo is too big, their schedules don't always align, and life moves forward whether we want it to or not. But they carry each other with them. In Marcos's card on his dresser. In Helena's memory of the morning, she was saved twice, once at 12 years old through someone else, once at 77 years old through that same someone returning the favor. Some people believe that we're all connected by invisible threads, that every action ripples outward in ways we can't predict or measure, that a teacher who stays late to help a struggling student might save not just that student, but everyone that student will touch in their lifetime. That a bus driver who stops to help an elderly woman might inspire 37 passengers to be kinder in their own lives, and those acts of kindness might inspire others, and on until you can't trace the origin anymore, but the effect remains. Maybe that's true. Maybe every choice we make echoes further than we know. Maybe the universe keeps score in ways we can't see, balancing accounts across decades, ensuring that kindness given returns as kindness received when we need it most. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just that sometimes, when we're drowning, someone reaches out a hand, and sometimes years later we get the chance to reach back. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we recognize each other in that moment and understand that we're all just people trying our best, stumbling through a difficult world, occasionally dropping our groceries and occasionally being saved by someone who decides not to look away. The bus continues its route through São Paulo every morning. The city wakes and stretches and hurries to where it needs to be. Millions of people in millions of moments, most of them forgotten, most of them invisible. But some moments shine, some moments matter, some moments change us in ways we carry forever. This was one of those moments. And now, before we end this story, I want to tell you something. The story you just heard is fictional, but it's inspired by real moments that happen every day in cities around the world. Moments when strangers become helpers. Moments when kindness breaks through the rush and noise and indifference. Moments when someone makes the choice to stop, to see, to care. These moments don't make the news. They don't go viral. They happen quietly, in buses and grocery stores and street corners, witnessed by a handful of people and then forgotten by most of them by dinner time. But they matter. They matter to the person being helped. They matter to the person doing the helping. They matter to everyone who witnesses them and carries that memory forward, even if just as a small warmth in the chest, a tiny reminder that humans can be good to each other when they choose to be. If you've been moved by this story, if it made you feel something, if it reminded you of a time when someone helped you or you helped someone else, I want to invite you to do something. Subscribe to this channel. Not just because I want the numbers, but because by subscribing, you're joining a community of people who believe these stories matter, people who want to be reminded that kindness exists, people who understand that we're all just passengers on the same bus, trying to make it to our destination without dropping everything we're carrying. Every week, I share stories like this one, stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Stories about second chances and unexpected connections. Stories that might be fictional, but are rooted in the very real truth that humans are capable of remarkable compassion when we remember to see each other. So hit that subscribe button, join us, And the next time you're on a bus or in a store or walking down a busy street and you see someone struggling, remember Marcos, remember Helena. Remember that the choice to help takes only a moment but can echo for a lifetime. Be the person who doesn't look away. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next story.